Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to a video where I loosely cover a class and tell it how it is and how it plays at level 80 or at max level, and also in the current content. Today is going to be about the bow guy and his music, the bard class. He's my main and also my personal favorite job, and I've been playing this guy since the beginning of my Final Fantasy XIV journey, all the way since Archer, all the way to full-fledged bard, and some of the current contents and stuff. First, before we start, I just want to say that the bard is pretty good to play again, and it has its own purposes and uses. As with every class in Final Fantasy XIV, the class balance is just really good, and I think Yoshi P and his team has done a good job of making every job in itself feel unique and doable for all the hardcore or casual content out there. But odds are you clicked on this video because you wanted to see if the battle DJ himself is super fun to play, is good at raids or hardcore parties, or you're just honestly trying to figure out what class to invest all your time into. In this video, I'll be going how the class feels and how the role plays in the current content, some level 80 instances and stuff like that. I'll also be going over some of the major abilities that it will be using for both its DPS and utility, and what makes it unique. And lastly, I'll be going over a general level 80 opener and rotation that I personally use in the content that I run. And this is all gonna be dealt from other high-end players that also play this job, and as well as the balanced Discord. And I'll have all of those like rotations and stuff written down in the description below. And I just want to make a big discretion that I am very decent at this job. I am no means a super pro player or hardcore raider. I'm just a dude that has played this game for a little bit, like 1,000-ish hours, and I've just been hardcore bard main ever since I started. And yeah, without that stuff out of the way, I'm gonna put some b-roll in the background, some level 80 instances. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like an alliance raid or something like that, just so you guys have something to watch at the max level while I talk about it. Let's get into it. First of all, I do want to say there was kind of a big change or a buff to this class. The changes from 5.3, and to give more context of it, Bard used to be reliant on critical hit procs for them to get the most use of out of their big damage abilities or their rotation. But this has changed from relying on crit procs from that to a flat 40% chance of repertoires. I would definitely go over what it is for when you have your damage over time skills on a boss. This eliminates some of the RNG elements the players are complaining about, as well as the need to have classes with critical hit buffs or chances like the book guy and the pole dude. So this really opens up a good spot for Bard to make his way into a static group or into a party, or to be a more desired utility DPS. So how does Bard feel at level 80? I'm just gonna say right now that if you're looking for a ginormous and huge DPS job that does all the big damage numbers, this one isn't it. But you can still do some really decent bursts and overall damage, even though when you're not the most optimized with your damage over time build. I'm just gonna call them dots now. Bard is a support utility DPS job that offers buffs to your entire squad when his songs are playing. You also have some utility for reducing overall damage taken, and even like a budget level Asuna. You excel at being support while outputting some good DPS over your dots, as well as the abilities that are procced with them. This job feels like you are helping the homies around you, and you do make a difference in the overall DPS or the overall feel or dance in a fight, which is honestly the most important. The job you want to play needs to feel impactful for you to do fun things. Also, you do really fun spinny spins, and you play a flute in a harp. Now I'm going to spend a bit of time to show you some of the key abilities that you'd be using at level 80. This part isn't going to be super in-depth. Some other channels have covered it, like the Albert Wesker channel and some other like overviews, but I'm just want to give you an idea of like what your rotation is and what you have to do and how it plays at max level. So I just want to go over, you do have a self-damage buff by 10% increase. It's called Raging Strikes. Put that on, and then you apply your 2 dots, Shadow Bite and Storm Bite. Put those 2 on and keep them on as much as possible. They last 30 seconds, but just remember to apply them and refresh them with this skill called Iron Jaws. Instead of applying them with 2 GCDs, you actually just use 1, which is uptime and stuff. These are absolutely key to all of your damage sources. So as a bard, you play lots of musics. You have 3 songs at level 80. You have Wanderer's Minuets, Mage's Ballads, and Army's Peon. I always mispronounce that. The priority from highest damage to lowest damage is Wanderer's Minuet, Mages, and then Armies. During these songs, there are some off global abilities that you need to hit to up your damages up. For example, during Wanderer's Minuet, there's a thing called Pitch Perfect. It's a very flashy and glowy move. Once you hit 3 stacks of it, you hit it and you do a lot of burst damage. During Mage's Ballad, there's an off global cooldown called Bloodletter, and then Rain of Death for AoEs. So these, they just refresh every time there's a repertoire, you know, 40% chance I mentioned in the beginning. It refreshes and you just spam that along with burst shot, which is like your global cooldown filler move. And then armies is honestly just a global cooldown attack speed buff. You do want to follow this order that in priority. You want to do Wanderer's Minuet, then mages, and then armies. During the AoE stuff like big mob pulls and dungeons and all that stuff, you want to use mage's ballot, apply some dots to that group, and then spam Rain to Death because it will come off cooldown and you just keep on doing your AoE stuff. Some other off global cooldown abilities that I want to go over in this is you weave in Sidewinder, which is like potency damage that is dependent on how many dots. So you always want to make sure the enemy you use it on is going to have both your dots on it instead of one. And then Epitherial Arrow at level 80, and it grants like an additional repertoire stack. Make sure you use that off cooldown and as well as like use it smartly so it refreshes like another damage thing. So while your jammers are going and you have no other buttons to press, you are spamming burst shot for your GCD unless your refusion arrow is glowing, and then you just hit that, which is just a stronger GCD that has a chance to proc when you use burst shot. And some other big things to touch on is use your barrage off cooldown. What it does, it makes refusion arrow, which is the stronger GCD I mentioned before, and it hits 3 times. And if possible, do it during your self damage buff Raging Strikes. And also use battle voice to yell at your homies for some good direct hit rate buff whenever possible as well. And another huge thing is song duration and song priority. They actually work out first 2 songs Wanderers and Mages will play, and then you want to do Armies Peon, and then Wanderers will actually come off of cooldown the first song. At that point, since Army is the weakest out of the 3, you just go ahead and start Wanderers again. So after going over the key abilities and what makes Bard unique and how it kind of feels and flows in the heat of battle, I'm gonna go ahead and attack a training dummy to show you guys what's the basic opener, you know, derived from the balanced Discord and higher end players, and what works for me, and as well as, you know, the overall rotation of my abilities. But showing you guys the rotation, that brings us to the end of the video. So yeah, that kind of concludes like my overall vibe or the overall feel of how Bard plays at level 80, you know, max level. Honestly, it feels pretty good. I wouldn't be playing it or coming back to it after having unlocked some of the other jobs if I didn't find it fun and engaging. This is more perspective for you guys to help make the decision of what to invest your time into or what job you think is the coolest or whatever. From my perspective of just being a dude that's been playing the Archer or Bard ever since downloading Final Fantasy XIV, just sticking with it. I do want to reiterate the fact that I am not a super top tier 1% ultimate raider or whatever. I'm just a dude that's just transitioning from casual stuff to more of the higher end things. And yeah, I just want to give you guys perspective on how Bard is and stuff like that. No big deal. Like I said, a lot of the sources are derived from the Balanced Discord and other like top tier YouTubers. I'll have those links in descriptions down below just to see what the rotations actually like and more of the skills and whatnot. So yeah, that's gonna be it from me. Thank you guys so much for making this part of the video and hope you guys did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below any Bard mains that I definitely missed some stuff, some of the important highlights. If you want to like, you know, give tips to anyone that wants to pick up this job, I for sure missed some because I didn't include every single detail into this video. Yeah, I just want to go ahead and thank my Patreons. Thank you guys so much, especially Daddy Senpai, who is the highest tier Patreons. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much for this love and support. Any new faces or any returning subscribers, thank you guys so much for viewing the content. And yeah, that's gonna be it for me, guys. Subscribe for more Final Fantasy XIV videos or content in general. I'll be here. Hopefully I see you guys on the next video. Peace out.